Anyway, you can see how in a relatively short amount of time, I'm sorting this garden out. But I mean, I came out this morning with this task on my brain. Doing this is added work. I don't do this every year, for sure. Now this garden's ready for planting. I think I'm gonna put beans in here. Hey, it's Greg here with MaritimeGardening.com, and I've got a bed here that is completely out of control with weeds. Now, that's partly on purpose, and I'll explain that as we go here. So what we got here is a bed that has, what's it called, like wild mustard greens or wild radish, or it's a kind of mustard, radish, they're all the same family, right? But it's basically a, it looks very much like a turnip leaf, right? And it actually tastes, it's the same, it's got this sort of thistly texture. And this is one of the first greens I have in the spring. And they tend to grow here, right? Probably because I always let them grow here, and they always make some flowers, right? So no matter how good a job I do of weeding this, they come back every year. So what I tend to do in the early spring is put a plastic dome over this and let them come in super early and use them as a cut green for, cooked vegetable dishes. You wouldn't want to eat these raw. They've got a thistly sort of texture. When you sort of shuck them off the stems and just use the leaf part, not the stems, even the main part, like, let me just show you since I'm talking about it. You're going to cook these, right? I mean, you don't eat this part, right? You basically remove everything, or just remove the leaf part from the stem part, because this stem has, like you can see, little thorns. They do not feel good going down, right? Even the leaf has a kind of thistle, but when you cook it, that sort of disintegrates. The little thorny, teeny tiny thorn thing that's on the stem, that isn't broken up by cooking. And when I mean cooking, I mean like you're just tossing this around, sauteing for like a couple minutes, right? A little bit of steam, a little bit of heat. Anyway, weeding is, I do lots of videos on weeding because people tend to think that's an overwhelming task, and it can be, and it takes energy, and it's hard. It's also part of gardening. But sometimes when you let the weeds get really big, they're actually easier to deal with. If you've got nice soft soil like I do, and you got a nice big long, like these are like 2 feet high, 2.5 feet long, really strong stem plant, right? It's not a lot of work to get them out, right? Because you can just grab and pull, right? And the whole thing comes out, roots and all, right? Like that, right? So it's actually pretty easy. And you get this great thing to hang on to, right? So it's pretty easy to get them out, right? So it's no work. I mean, it's work, don't get me wrong, right? And the reason I'm not saving these is because they're full of weed seeds, right? So these, I could compost these, I suppose, but I don't do like super hot composting. I do cold composting. So if I compost these plants, I'm just going to get 1 million of these seeds in my compost. So I just toss them in the woods over there. Maybe they'll make a meal for the deer that walk by all the time. Anyway, you can see how in a relatively short amount of time, I'm sorting this garden out, right? It's physical work, but I mean, I came out this morning with this task on my brain. I've been staring at this for weeks, developing a passion for this task, steeling myself to this task. I came out mentally prepared this morning. Now we no-till gardeners don't advocate stepping in a garden, but you saw I do it. I did it a few times there, because sometimes it's just unavoidable, right? Likewise here, I'm pulling this up a little bit. That's just because, you know, the thing was so out of control. Need a little bit of cultivation. There's so much sand in this soil that I've decided I should actually turn it over a little bit. Just a quick one like this. Sure, this is added work. I don't do this every year, that's for sure. This is analogous to tilling. And we don't advise tilling in a garden. But if you have a bed that's just totally crazy and out of control, and you do something like this, I don't know, once every 5 or 6 years, it's not the end of the world. I mean, as I've said many times before, almost every no-till gardening guru talks about the time when they used to till, which means it's not the end of the world if you till, because they all have awesome gardens now. It's just not a good thing to do year after year after year, right? Oh, and it's a lot of work. It's no fun. But now this garden's ready for planting. I think I'm going to put beans in here. One final bean garden. It's the first week of July, so I think I got time for that. Really sandy here because I have sand in my pathways, and I had a kind of drainage problem in my garden that I finally dealt with this year. But every year previous, right, ridiculous amounts of sand would wash into this. So on this corner here, the soil is remarkably sandy. It's not the end of the world. I mean, there's sort of an ideal kind of soil, and then there's less than ideal kinds of soil. There's things that'll grow in sandy soil, and there's things that won't grow in sandy soil. If it's sandy, it just means it doesn't hold water as well, basically. And because it doesn't hold water as well, it doesn't hold nutrients as well. It doesn't hold anything that well. On the flip side, I guess it doesn't flood. Right, the water passes through it, so your roots don't get too dry or too swamped in sandy soil. Anyway, oh, I missed that weed. Anyway, there. That's done. It didn't take long, right? So I don't know how long this has been filming. 11 minutes. That's including me walking around looking for tools and stuff like that. But in 11 minutes I basically had a 4x8 bed with 2 3-foot high weeds all through it, and sod and grass and clover and every other weed you can imagine. And I got it all out of there, and I've basically prepared, cultivated the soil. This is ready for planting. Sometimes it's all about attitude, right? This was the last thing I'm doing today. I'm in a complete lather now. It's time to go in, take a shower, make my kids some pancakes, right? But anyway, I just thought I'd do this video because every year I like to take a garden with just that looks like an overwhelming mess. The kind of garden you just avoid dealing with because it just looks overwhelming, and in a very short amount of time, make it look ready for planting. Right, a lot of these tasks, it's a question of attitude. There's technique, right? There's being in shape and some things like that, but mostly it's about attitude. Right? I came out this morning, convinced, obsessed with straightening this thing out, getting it ready for planting, because really it's the first week of July. If I'm going to plant beans, this is the last I'm running out of time to get. I'm going to plant a bush bean here, a fast growing variety. I'm basically out of time for stuff like this, so it's time to get everything in. Anyway, I hope you found that video interesting. If you did, please like, share, subscribe. Want to help us support the channel? Check out my Substack page, maritimegardening.substack.com. I write an article every week, a 1,000-word article every week with pictures about something to do with gardening. And if you are a paid subscriber, $30 for a full year, $5 a month for a monthly subscription, you have a chance to win a $100 gift certificate at the seed provider of your choice. Details in the description box. Check that out. Anyway, until next time, get out there, get at it, have fun in your garden. Thanks for watching.